Good morning, I'm Adam Sexton. The legislative session is reaching its crescendo in Concord, and statewide races in this election year are about to heat up for the summer. Lots to discuss today with Governor Kelly Ayotte, who is our guest this morning on Close-Up. Governor, thanks for being here.
Good morning, Adam. Great to be with you.
So we'll get to the Concord-centric stuff in a moment, but I want to start bigger picture and the months ahead, especially looking towards November. Cost of living, still a major issue for people,
Yes.
From filling up your tank, buying groceries, all of it. Not a lot you can control as the governor of New Hampshire, but as someone who's going to be on the ballot at the top of the ticket, it kind of lands in your lap. So when voters talk to you in the months ahead and they say, hey, what have you done to lower the cost of living for me? What are you going to tell them?
Well, I appreciate this issue so much. I mean, we see it at the market basket, at the gas pumps. So I understand Granite Staters, we want to make life more affordable for them. So what I would say is this: number one, I've been focused on our energy costs. So I thought the PUC needed to focus more on affordability. I've replaced the chairman there. Transmission costs for the region, I've been pushing ISO New England, it runs the grid, to reduce those costs. And then also looking for ways to expand energy opportunities, like through new nuclear power. So we're going to do that. And then also, I think our tax advantage, right? We have the lowest taxes in the region. We're not going to pass on more costs to people, but we've seen our neighbors do that. So really holding the line so that we're not passing things along to the people who are already struggling. And then we're looking at issues: how do we expand housing so that we can reduce cost of housing? Childcare, there's a child care tax credit on the legislation in the Senate today that I hope passed to help expand child care opportunities. So all of those things I look at, and I think about this issue every day as governor.
And yet it's going to take time for those things to work if you're able to be successful with them. And the voters always say, hey, what have you done for me today, now? You know, Republicans are in charge in Concord and Washington. Why should those voters stick with the status quo with inflation at 3.8%?
Well, I would say this. We have fought hard to continue to protect New Hampshire, protect taxpayers, also serving our most vulnerable citizens. And I fight every day. Energy, make sure we can reduce those costs. Again, housing, childcare. I literally wake up every day and think about this issue. So I'm going to fight for the people of New Hampshire to make our state even more affordable. And I think we're doing better than our neighbors, and we're going to continue to do that. And any lever I can push, you know, to make sure that we're in a good position that makes sense, I'm going to do so for the people of New Hampshire.
Let's turn to some of the high-profile bills at the State House. And we don't know what's coming to your desk yet, and there's going to be a lot more negotiation ahead between the House and the Senate. But one that a lot of people have talked about is this concept of campus carry, which is the idea that students should be able to carry guns on campuses, college, university, and that there shouldn't be any restrictions whatsoever. And this would be not only in the in the original Republican bill, not just public colleges and universities, but any college or university that accepts public funds. Of course, the Senate wants a study committee. We'll see what ends up coming out of this whole process. But do you think it's a good idea to change the way that colleges and universities have operated around this issue for years?
Well, I will just say this. I think that the bill that came out of the House of Representatives clearly had a number of issues, and the Senate president already raised those issues and thought that this deserved more study. And so I think that makes a lot of sense. Before we would make any changes like that, we want to make sure we're focused on public safety, not only for our students, but for everyone else. So that, to me, makes sense that we're going to look at this further.
And, you tend to often align with law enforcement. We heard from a lot of police chiefs who said, hey, maybe it's not a good idea to put guns in the hands of people where there can be drinking situations, mental health situations. Do you agree with some of that criticism?
Well, I think that's why having a study committee and looking at this further, so that law enforcement can be at the table, so that we can look closely at those. Those are fair issues and legitimate issues. And we want to make sure that if we make any changes, that we get this right.
You're in a battle with Anthem and health insurance companies over what's known as wraparound services for children's mental health, a major issue in New Hampshire that the state has been grappling with for quite a few years now. What prompted you to decide to get involved in this fight that really just erupted in the last few weeks here at the State House?
Well, first of all, the insurance companies have been dragging their feet for years, Anthem and others. And we tried to get them to do the right thing, the insurance commissioner, to say, hey, will you cover the mental health treatment that our children need? And so I just became very incensed about this. This is just so wrong. So we have parents with private insurance who are being denied treatment for their children that have acute mental health issues. They want to keep their children in their homes, and that this private insurers not covering this treatment driving these children into institutions, which is absolutely wrong, and then sometimes forcing these parents to actually have to go on Medicaid, drop their private insurance, just so they can get their kids treatment. So I just became really outraged when I heard what was happening. And we need to have good mental health treatment for children. And that's what this bill is about. And we can't let the insurance companies drag their feet any longer.
In the debate over this legislation, you know, a lot of your fellow Republicans have said the assessment that's being charged on the plans, they contend it's a tax. You've said no new taxes. What do you say to them on this?
I mean, it's ridiculous. This is an insurance coverage issue. This is not a tax. This is about covering insurance for children in our state that need help and treatment for mental health. And people pay premiums, and these people in New Hampshire are paying for this insurance, and it's not covering mental health treatment, and they're forcing them onto Medicaid. It's wrong. So it has nothing to do with a tax.
One issue related to taxes and tolls, where you said you won't budge, is this concept of potentially charging out-of-state vehicles more at the tolls to try and fund more projects here in New Hampshire. This idea of charging out-of-state vehicles more, every other state in the region is doing it to New Hampshire. Why not turn around and do it to them?
I mean, the last argument you should make to me is that, well, everyone around us is doing it, so we should do it.
Peer pressure.
If we follow everyone around us, you know, they have income tax, they have sales tax, they have a whole host of taxes on the people of their state. We've always set ourselves apart when it comes to affordability. And I don't think the timing is right for this. I want to make sure that people know it's affordable to come to New Hampshire, enjoy our state, and we're not going to pass along those costs.
You really think another $1 on the toll, though, is going to stop that Massachusetts tourist or a person who wants to get to their lake house from coming here? Well,
listen, I think that we are going to make sure that we look at affordability at every level. And I don't think it's the right time for this. And I really believe that we set ourselves apart in New Hampshire. It's why people are coming to New Hampshire, and they're actually leaving other states in terms of wanting to live in this state.
And yet the transportation problems are real. I mean, you get to drive Bow Junction every day now in the morning and in the evening and see how dysfunctional that is.
Those are
Exit 6 on 293, which is basically an accident factory where they have that on-ramp from 1952.
And we're going to work really hard to get those projects done.
But not for a decade, right?
I mean, we will push hard to get those done. I'm confident that we'll be able to do that. And the other thing I always hear from people, when they drive into our state, they drive from Massachusetts into our state, I hear all the time, oh my gosh, the roads are so much better.
Take us inside the negotiations on the landfill bill to the extent that you can. This is something where we've seen this kind of blow up at the last second several years in a row. It looks like there's an opening this year. What's changing in the discussions behind closed doors that is different from years previous when we've seen that door slammed in the face of the North Country?
Well, I will tell you the North Country's at the table. My office has been working very closely with them. We agree there should not be a landfill at the beautiful state park in Dalton, and that we also agree that local communities need to have a voice in the siting of landfills. That has not happened previously. So we've been able to negotiate with the Senator Pearl, to come up with a bill that will give people locally a voice in whether there is a landfill in their community. And that will make a difference in Dalton. That'll make a difference in other communities in the North Country. And that's why we're working in this coalition to do this, because it's important that we protect our quality of life and our environment, and that locally you don't just get a landfill dumped in your community without you being able to say, this is my opinion on it.
Yeah, a solid waste site evaluation committee, also new considerations for public health in terms of
where public health, whether it's a nuisance, you know, what happens in the community, whether it's the smells, the sounds, all those things, the traffic, all those things that impact communities.
What happens next? Potentially, we don't know what's going to happen with this. And again, plenty of times we've seen a deal on the cusp and it's fallen through. So we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what will reach your desk. But do you see an opportunity? Is there more you want to get done on this issue? I know there's out-of-state waste. Is there more you see that you would do in a second term?
Well, first of all, I think this issue is really important. I'm always going to be focused on protecting our environment, on making sure that New Hampshire has their voice in terms of where landfills are sited. So this is an important first step. We'll continue to look at this issue and see if there are other steps we need to take to protect New Hampshire.
As I was looking back through the questions as I was preparing these this morning, I was looking at, okay, there's a fight with Anthem, there's a difficulty with waste management and Casella, you've got a fight with Vail Resorts over Epic passes.
That's right.
Gordon Darby on inspections. There's probably the list goes on.
Sure.
I feel like there was an ad in 2024 that was talking about corporate Kelly, and yet you're battling all of these different corporations. Did you ever envision yourself in kind of this Ralph Nader role that you're in right now?
Well, okay, so here's where I am. I wake up every day and I think about what can I do for the people of New Hampshire? And every single one of those examples you cited, the insurance companies, whether it's energy costs, whether it's, the landfills, I'm fighting them because they're doing the wrong things for the state of New Hampshire. So if you want to do business in the state, do right by our state. And so that's what I'm saying here. And like on this coverage issue for children with mental health, I mean, we wouldn't even be here and need legislation if Anthem and the other insurers had just done the right thing.
All right. Don't go anywhere, Governor. When we come back, we'll get the governor's perspective on data centers and the approach she wants the state to take for companies that want to build those facilities in the Granite State.